Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, August 24th, 2018, the WNW 349. My interpretation of this week's news is by the mainstream press is look over here, look over here, look over here, look over here. Don't look at all the real crime and felonies and treason, sedition, obstruction of justice, espionage, fraud. Don't look at any of that surrounding the failed coup attempt of Donald Trump and the exoneration of Hillary Clinton. Don't look at that. Look at this. Trump's moment of truth is at hand. Cohen, hush money paid as instructed by candidate. Legal spotlight turns on Trump. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Listen, what Trump did with and we're back to this, porn star and Playmate Bunny story about him paying money. I don't know if he did or not, or what the story was, but it's not illegal for him to pay his own money to get confidentiality agreements and pay hush money. Not illegal. Mark Levin, who is a constitutional scholar, came out and said that Lanny Davis, the attorney for Mr. Cohen, is a dummy. You got him to plead to things that are not crimes. At least 2 of the 8 charges, not crimes. The other ones are real, but that's on him, not on the president. And even if he did instruct him, the president paid his own money. Even if it was corporate money, it doesn't make any difference. So it's not a story, not a crime. But again, the mainstream media is running this game. And the game is, can we distract the public? Because we don't want to cover the failed coup. They know full well that Hillary Clinton supposedly paid Steele for this dossier. I revealed that it goes beyond that. It wasn't Steele. He was just a monkey, a scapegoat, a guy that they could, act like this was opposition research. It was the number 4 then at the Obama Justice Department, Bruce Orr, who at least helped write, if not wrote, the entire Steele dossier, the phony dossier. I mean, that's earth-shaking, folks. Our government was involved, if not writing whole cloth, if not doing that, at least writing part of this phony dossier that they then used to start this counterintelligence operation, which was totally bogus, and then used it to fraudulently apply for spy warrants, spies at the FISA court. A totally illegitimate investigation. Robert Mueller got his power by totally illegitimate means. Fraudulent. That means the whole investigation is one giant fraud. Now they're talking about that Donald Trump is going to declassify all this stuff and just lay this bare for the entire world. What they've been monkeying around with, the House has been monkeying around with, and there's other stuff going on. We do have the Huber investigation. The prosecutor from Utah at the Justice Department is working on quietly working on an entire investigation. We have the Inspector General also working on an additional investigation into this bogus FISA application where they lied to the judge about who paid for it, and they indeed helped craft this phony dossier, completely phony. Here is something that broke out. Cohen attorney Lanny Davis is a registered foreign agent for pro-Russian oligarch wanted by U.S. government and linked to Putin. Lanny Davis is the primary lobbyist for the Putin-tied oligarch. He was out a few days ago talking about impeachment. Now they're into impeachment. Before it was Russia, then it was Stormy, and then now it's back to impeachment. There's no crime, but this is the Crazyville. And of course, this is the Harry Reid way of doing business. When a reporter asked Harry Reid, hey, you lied about Mitt Romney not paying taxes. And of course, Harry Reid came back and said, well, he didn't get elected, did he? So they don't care about the lies. The Democrats don't have any policies and they're the deep state now, basically. The Democrats are the deep state team, not the hardworking, middle class, blue collar. No. They're the deep state team. They're the team of no borders, no border patrol, let all the MS-13 gangs come in. I mean, USA did a story about how, the illegal aliens, they commit just a small percentage of crime compared to people who live here. Every single one of them committed a crime. They are illegally here. There is no undocumented. That's a political term. Don't let anybody tell you undocumented. No. Illegal. They're illegal aliens. They're here illegally. It's illegal. But the Democrat New World Order Luciferian Party, communist, a National Socialist, that's Nazi in pre-World War II Germany, and they also called themselves progressives. But these are the people that they want free stuff for everybody, free college, universal basic income. Of course, they don't tell how they're going to pay for the free stuff. They want no borders, no border patrol, no enforcement. I mean, it's the number two. You can't make this up, folks. The number two at the DNC, Keith Ellison, wants no borders. All the criminal gangs, all the MS-13, all the crime, they protect the criminal alien, the illegal alien at the expense of American tax-paying citizens. So you cannot make this up. That's their platform. The number two at the DNC, Keith Ellison, that's what he said, no borders. Same thing with Tom Perez, the number one at the Democratic National Committee. The leader of the Democratic National Committee, yeah, they don't want any borders either. And Ocasio-Cortez, with the universal basic income and free stuff for everybody and total socialism / communism, that's the future of our party. And we have to have voters, so we don't care about the fuddy-dud American voters that are working and paying for this. We want to bring in and flood the country and destabilize it and reshape America because it's bad. It needs to be reshaped. But Michael Cohen, Lanny Davis was talking about, how all this impeachment, right? And I call it my friend Dave Jenner. He says, well, a few days ago, Lanny Davis was talking about impeachment, and he was talking about how they're going to go after Trump, and they're going to go, and then all of a sudden, a couple of days later, boom, he's talking about how they didn't that the dossier is a fraud, that they mentioned his client Michael Cohen 13 times, and it wasn't the right one. He was never over in Eastern Europe. That was totally fraudulent, false. And he doesn't have any information about that Donald Trump knew anything about this meeting with the Russian, which this person met with before and after operatives of the Democratic Party, agents of the Democratic Party who basically are for the Democrat Party. This was just another setup, another fraud. But the media doesn't want to talk about that. The mainstream media, oh no. We don't want to talk about how the Bruce Orr wrote. Partially or fully wrote this phony dossier that they used for fraudulent FISA warrants, and then the other story is bad enough that Hillary Clinton and the DNC paid for this research by a foreign agent, which started this whole fraudulent, as the president says, witch hunt, and he's correct about that. And a counterintelligence operation which John Brennan was involved in. I mean, this is unbelievable, folks. For all you folks out there that are worried that, there's no arrest, there's nothing happening, Jeff Sessions isn't doing anything, I think he is. This isn't going to be solved with an arrest or two or putting Hillary in jail. This is big. This is dozens, if not hundreds of people. And there's 45,000 sealed indictments. There's probably 300 less with the pedophile priest and a couple of Republicans that got their indictments opened. But this is a huge undertaking. This involved many people at the FBI, the DOJ, the State Department, the CIA, other intelligence agencies, the White House, all the way up to Obama. According to James Clapper, according to his director of national intelligence, James Clapper, on CNN about 3 weeks ago, said it was Obama's fault. I'm paraphrasing. But that's almost exactly what he said. It was that Obama tasked us, the intelligence agencies, even down to the Mueller investigation. That's not a paraphrase. It's Obama's fault. That's basically what he said. A failed coup, a fraudulent acquisition of special prosecutor powers. James Comey leaked out this information he should have never taken from the FBI to one of his buddies at NYU, and then he got the Mueller, his good old longtime friend who they helped each other make money over the years, got him as a special prosecutor, and it's because of the counterintelligence phony investigation that they were doing. Completely phony, folks. And notice how the press isn't talking about Russian collusion, which is not even a crime. The only person that colluded with the Russians was Hillary Clinton and probably John Brennan and James and Mueller. And Mueller knew all about this Uranium One deal where there was racketeering and espionage and bribery and extortion going on. They had a 5-year undercover witness, Robert Mueller, and the CIA. They still let the Uranium One deal go through. So these are the real crimes. I mean, this is outrageous that real felony, treasonous, seditious, obstruction of justice, fraud, extortion, espionage, gross negligence, all these crimes the mainstream media is covering up. That it's Michael Cohen. He paid a Playmate bunny in a porn star that directed by the candidate, which is not a crime. We don't have any real crime. And now they're impeachment. They're talking about impeachment now for nothing. Because we don't like him and the deep state's going crazy. Have you noticed how the pitch of this is all risen up? Because the good empire is about ready to strike back. Now, Trump has to be careful he doesn't take down the entire U.S. economy and parts of the global economy. I mean, the fraud is, and the sedition and treason, I mean, this involved our foreign allies that were involved in trying to take Donald Trump down, trying to stop him from getting into office and now remove him from office, and they're still trying to do that. And on top of that, you have the social media companies blocking voices of conservative voices. And as Kevin Shipp pointed out, there's a new document out there that was leaked out, a 45-page document where they are planning Facebook and Google and YouTube and I see other Twitter, all planning to remove conservative voices because they want to do it before the midterm elections. Well, now I got this from InfoWars. Trump planning multi-pronged response to tech censorship of conservatives ahead of midterms. And this is something that InfoWars started looking into, and then they turned it over to the president. InfoWars has consulted with top law firms to study the deep state Democratic Party's deep state/Democrat Party's open announcement of plans to deplatform all conservatives, which will silence their voices ahead of the midterms in what amounts to be one of the greatest instances of election meddling ever carried out in the digital age. That's a mouthful, folks. I mean, the Democrats don't have anything unless you'd like high crime rates, higher taxes, open borders with all the MS-13 and other cartel crime members coming in, committing all the crime they want, like this little girl in Iowa that just was murdered by another illegal alien. And if that's what you want, boy, vote Democrat. Vote communist. Vote that. And what's going to go down is going to be a two-pronged prosecution. Some of these guys are going to get prosecuted in military court. What they did was treason. I think what John Brennan did was treason. I think what Clapper did was treason. I think Obama having this White House party that was spelled out in no uncertain terms in Edward Klein's book, All Out War, about they were going to unmask people. They hatched a plan to unmask people on December 16th at the White House, a plan to try to take Trump down, but more sedition and treason. And it went all the way to Barack Obama in the White House. That's what the evidence says. This isn't what I think. All the evidence says this, and Trump is going to declassify this stuff. He's going to do it soon. And he's going to, they are going to press charges against some of these treasonous weasels. And the mainstream media can't be that stupid. This is all publicly available information that clearly shows there was a failed coup. That the counterintelligence operation was a frame job. That the dossier was invented, at least in part, by the Obama Justice Department, paid for by the opposing candidate. They lied to the FISA court. They tried to set up all kinds of people in the Trump administration, and it failed, and failed. It failed. The coup failed. And the mainstream press, it is an embarrassment. They can't be that stupid. They're corrupt. This is not what I think. This is what the evidence shows. And then you have this, and I want to remind you of this, and I've been harping on this. There's a reason why the president did this executive order blocking the property, and this is the Treasury Department can do this, blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse, that's human trafficking and pedophilia, or corruption. Now that's a big window right there, just corruption. And it goes on, this was December 21st, 2017, to protect the financial system of the United States. Whoa! It's a national emergency to deal with that threat. Of course, none of the dunces in the White House press corps, they're correspondents, the correspondent here. None of the dunces in the National Press Corps would say, "Hey, what's up with this executive order? We're in a national emergency to deal with this." And the global economy, with this thing with Turkey is the latest canary to flop over and die on the bottom of the cage. You got Venezuela is a basket case, and I'll get to that in just a minute. Argentina has currency problems. Brazil has currency problems. All these things diving. But the economy, you think, and the president, when he says this kind of stuff about how great the economy is, well, better than what it would have been with Hillary, that's for sure. And listen, I'm not an anti-Trumper. But I am a realist. I have to tell you the real thing. Here is, this is something I got off Zero Hedge. They had multiple charts. They did a great job on this, zerohedge.com. And if you look here, this is the S&P, right? This is the fantasy world, okay? And then this lower line is the hold on. Let me get this to you. You can see this diversion, right? The lower line is the world stock market crashing. And the upper line is the U.S. and S&P 500. So, I mean, what's wrong with this picture? Well, for the rest of the world, things are kind of sucking right now. And, are these lines going to kind of come together like this one over here? I think they will. And Donald Trump has been hinting at how this impeachment talk could crash the markets. And here's another chart. This is another. They had 10 charts on there that all showed the same awful stuff. Here is the central bank balance sheet crashing. Now, when the banks get in trouble, the world gets into trouble. And these guys are stupid, and we don't believe in bankruptcy. So what are they going to do? Are they going to let them go bankrupt? They're going to print tons of money. And here's the S&P again, going up. This gap is going to get filled some way. You can't have this kind of stock market and this kind of bank stocks doing this. And then there's there's an economist who's pretty popular on Twitter, and this guy, his name is David Rosenberg. He's the Econo guy. His Twitter handle is Econo Guy Rosy Chief, economist and strategist at Gluskin Sheff and Associates. And here's his Twitter from yesterday. With home sales and market PMI weakness, we now have 14 economic indicators for August miss expectations. 5 beat and 3 in line. Here we have nearly 3 misses for every beat, and yet the bullish chatter on the economy shows no signs of abating. Welcome to the Flat Earth Society. Basically just a nice summation that the economy's not doing that well. Yeah, some places it's doing pretty well, but most places it's not. It's signaling danger, warning, danger. Here's another warning sign. And listen, China cannot afford this. They have a lot of debt. No further talks scheduled. China-U.S. trade negotiations, a complete bust. And then here we go on. I just wanted to kind of continue that. Again, no further talks scheduled. Here we have Jim Rick, just to make you keep that in mind. No further talks scheduled. And then Jim Rickards at the Daily Reckoning comes out and says the new reality of China's failing economy is coming soon. And he says, this is his, you heard about all the great stuff about the Chinese economy, but you haven't heard about pure waste, fraud, and theft of the Chinese economy. At least half of the investment there is pure waste, and he basically points out, think ghost cities. Half the investment, pure waste in China, the Chinese miracle. Pure waste, fraud, and theft of the Chinese economy. How well do you think they'll do in a global currency reset, a global debt reset. Let's go on. Well, what a disaster. And this is what I was talking about Venezuela. Chaos returns to Venezuela after a massive devaluation. They're looking at 1,000,000% inflation coming. It's already hundreds of thousands of percent inflation right now. It's growing leaps and bounds. The cost of everything is well, the currency is failing, which means the cost of everything is growing by leaps and bounds. It is stunning. And just to let you know, that and for anybody that thinks, oh, this can't happen in America, well, I think it can happen to any currency that's mismanaged and printed to oblivion and abused. And let's not pretend here, okay? I got on the phone with a friend of mine. She said, "Do you think I should buy gold?" I said, "Well, I don't know. Let's pretend. Let's play. Let's pretend. Let's pretend there are real markets. You think they're a real market? No. Let's pretend that gold and silver aren't manipulated." Speaking of which, Manarino sent me this, and this was yesterday. And this is them dumping tons of silver on the market. Boom, caught them. That's what he sent me. Caught them. I'll show you about that in a minute. I said, but let's pretend. Let's pretend that we don't have a $21 trillion deficit. Let's pretend that we don't have an additional, which Trump didn't know about when he came into office, an additional $21 trillion of missing money at the Department of Defense and at the Housing and Urban Development, HUD, at DOD and HUD. That was, of course, compiled with government numbers, actual bona fide government numbers that have now been taken off the internet, and by Dr. Mark Skidmore, a PhD in economics and an expert in public financing policy at the Michigan State University, along with his team of PhD level and graduate students, that came up with 21 trillion missing. And now when he's tried to ask the government about it, it's like it's a national security issue. Sorry, redactions, you don't get to know anymore. Yeah, sorry. So here is what happened in Zimbabwe. Are you looking at this? Are you looking at a $50 trillion bill? Those rocks are worth more than this paper. A $50 trillion bill. I think that'll buy you a piece of gum. That's what happens when you have hyperinflation and you inflate your economy. And listen, some people, hey, maybe we don't have hyperinflation here in America, but you don't just have to have hyperinflation for it to be very destructive. I mean, you have John Williams at shadowstats.com says the real inflation rate's around 8%, 7-8%. If you did it the way it was done in 1980 and earlier, where it wasn't the cost of survival, it was the cost of living. Not substituting lima beans for a T-bone steak, same protein. But things aren't going well. And things could get really, really kinky. Here are two stories I joined together. And that is Iran again threatens to strike on U.S., Israel after Bolton warns of maximum pressure coming. Now, I don't know what maximum pressure means. Is that us stopping, the U.S. Navy stopping their oil exports? Is that more sanctions? Is that more restriction? Is that clamping down on other people? I mean, the whole world is having a hard time paying their bills, whether you believe in this policy or not. And I think some of the tariffs and the things Trump has done is probably a good idea. Now, everybody's worried about this crashing, but I think what's also going on is a negotiation for a debt reset. We're not paying this debt back. The world gained about, $70-80 trillion. It went from 160, 170 to about 240, 250, $250 trillion of debt since 2008. So it gained many trillions of dollars that we don't intend to pay off, folks. We're never going to pay it off. It's not ever going to get paid off. And then here we have Iran threatens to strike on U.S. and Israel after John Bolton, he's the National Security Advisor for Donald Trump, on maximum pressure. And then we have, this is a little story out of Business Insider to go along with that. Europe should not allow the U.S. to act over our heads. Germany is challenging the U.S.'s financial monopoly as the Iran row deepens. So they're challenging, and basically what are they asking for? Germany wants the EU SWIFT system, a global payment system, We want to use the euro in a global payment system. We want to bypass the dollar. We don't want to adhere to any United States sanctions. We don't want any of that. Boy, that's some powerful talk. And is that dollar negative? You betcha. You betcha. And all the while, what they're doing, and I'm back to this here, where Mannarino says, "Ha, caught them." This is what they did with the silver, dumping it on the market. Nobody dumps money on the market, dumps silver on the market like this to try to lose money. You know, you dump it on up here, and bam, the price goes to here. So you're intentionally dumping something on the market so you lose money. So Mannarino sends me a few emails. He says, "Hey, use some of this stuff in your weekly news wrap." And he said, "ECB, Eurozone needs more stimulus." The ECB says the Eurozone needs more significant more stimulus. That's how well the economy. They need to print some more money. They need to print some more money. Yeah, okay. Just think about that every time you say, "Oh, we need more stimulus." Okay, yeah, you need some more stimulus. And now we talk about here that the Fed is going to be tightening. They're signaling they're going to tighten. Wow, that is really unusual because the Fed usually doesn't tighten in the 6 weeks, September, in the 6 weeks before a major election, midterm elections. Fed usually doesn't tighten. But, I've gotten from a couple of people, DiMartino Booth, who's going to be a guest on here in the next, not too distant future, who is a former right-hand person to Dallas Fed president, Dallas Fed president. She's a big deal. And she says they think they are going to raise rates. Richard Fisher, Dallas Fed president Richard Fisher. She was his right-hand person. So smart woman, wrote a best-selling book called Fed Up, and she thinks they're going to raise rates. Mannarino thinks they're going to raise rates. I'm thinking, I don't know, man. You got the ECB saying that they need significant stimulus, and then you got the Fed tightening, and then you have countries, the currencies of countries like Brazil tanking, Turkey tanking, Venezuela down under the ground tanking. Argentina and others, and not doing well at all. And the Fed's going to make the cost of borrowing dollars even more expensive in the face of having all these misses with the economy just before the election. Wow. Woo! Jerome Powell, you got big kahunas if you can raise rate on the guy that nominated you for the Fed 6 weeks before an election with this kind of teetering global economy. Then Mannarino tells me, he says, and you know what, let me tell you something. We have negative interest rates in America. And he sends me a chart and he says, hey, today 2.82% is the 10-year Treasury. That's the benchmark. That's what they set 30-year mortgages on. It says inflation just came out at 2.9%. 2.82 is the 10-year Treasury. Inflation is 2.9%. Negative interest rates, according to Mannarino. And he's a smart guy, and he's absolutely spot on. That just proves to you by the numbers. We do have negative interest rates. And if you did inflation, as I said, like John Williams does at shadowstats.com, the way it was done in 1980 and earlier, we would have way higher inflation. If we did it in 1990 and earlier, it would be 5-6%. In 1980, it'd be about 8% or so, or close to 10%, I think. Way higher than what they're saying it is, 2.9%. I mean, but that's why DiMartino Booth says, I don't know, inflation's creeping up. Jerome Powell's going to raise interest rates, and I'm thinking you can't wait till December. I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm not an easy money guy, but the economy there, and then the geopolitical risks are phenomenal. I mean, again, I can't impress upon you enough how big the risks are when you start having military tribunals and sticking it in the mainstream media's face with the charges of treason and sedition and fraud and multiple people involved. I mean, listen, Comey committed crimes. He lied to Congress too. McCabe, his number 2, committed crimes. Bruce Orr, the number 4 in the Loretta Lynch Justice Department, wrote this dossier, and there's email back and forth. That's crime. The number 2 at counterintelligence, Strzok, basically produced the fraudulent information for the FISA warrants and started a phony counterintelligence operation. John Brennan is involved in this bogus counterintelligence operation. I think he laid his hands on this bogus document. Sally Yates also signed off on this document. Rob Rosenstein, the now #2 at the Justice Department, signed off on this. I think John Kerry and the Obama State Department signed off on this. And then the crimes of Hillary Clinton, I mean, hammering up her hard drives, getting rid of 33,000 emails under subpoena, the global Clinton charity fraud, the bribe taking of Bill Clinton. We haven't even got into the pedophilia and the human trafficking. This is huge. I mean, just that in and of itself could bring down the markets to a very low level. This is a unbelievable, never before in the history of America, and really never before in the history of the world, have we had this much debt, this much fraud, this much crime, with the derivatives in the quadrillion, and we're all pretending. Like I told my friend, let's pretend. Let's pretend that the LIBOR isn't rigged. It is. Let's pretend gold and silver aren't rigged. Deutsche Bank and others admitted to it. Let's pretend Forex isn't rigged. Yeah, plate fines, admitted to it. Yeah, guilty. Let's pretend the S&P futures aren't rigged. Yeah, oh, yeah, they're rigged. Let's pretend that the commodity index isn't rigged. Oh, yes, rigged. Let's pretend the dollar isn't rigged. Yeah, rigged. Let's pretend that the entire global economy isn't propped up by a sea of central bank money, according to Nobi Prinz, who just won another best-selling award and got in her latest book, which is a bestseller that came out. Let's pretend all that isn't going on. Let's pretend there isn't a massive, seditious, treasonous attempt to take down the president. That's still going on. Let's pretend that's not happening. Let's pretend. Let's pretend that all your stocks in your brokerage account aren't commingled. Let's pretend that another brokerage couldn't go MF Global. They went out of business. Let's pretend there's enough money in the FDIC to cover all the depositors. Yeah. Yeah. Let's pretend that SIPC has enough money to cover all the brokerages. That's even a bigger joke. Let's pretend. Let's pretend there's real price discovery in all the markets. You're kidding yourself. You're lying to yourself. You're pretending that everything's okay and that none of this matters. Let's pretend we don't have 21 trillion of federal debt and another 21 trillion of a debt that's missing, along with all the other money that they haven't figured out that's missing. Let's pretend. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Because I guarantee you, people in Washington know the 21 trillion number is real, and they know both 21 trillion numbers, and they know the missing money. They know they're not pretending. That's not there. They're not pretending. So if you want to keep on pretending, go ahead. Go ahead. Let's talk about this here. And listen, and Trump is no dummy. He's a smart guy. And I am so happy we have Donald Trump in here, and I've been saying this, I mean, listen, Hillary Clinton would sell us all out to the Luciferian globalist in a heartbeat. They would depopulate us. They would execute this Agenda 21, steal all your land, and stick you in a shoebox or in 6 feet under, okay? The globalists knew this was going to happen, but they wanted Hillary Clinton in there, so they would use the debt and gain control and power over all humanity. I'm getting deep here, aren't I? Donald Trump? No. Paris Climate Accord? Boom, out. Trans-Pacific Partnership? Boom, out. Iran, totally no signature fraud deal? Boom, out. And they keep misquoting that, saying the deal was signed. The deal was not signed. It wasn't signed by anybody, and I can prove it. But here's why the president, I think, is why he's doing this. President Trump, if he ever got impeached, that's what they keep talking about now. The Democrats and the Luciferians in a New World Order know their world's coming down around their head. They have to remove this guy. If I ever got impeached, I think the market would crash. I think everybody would be very poor, because without this thinking, his thinking, he's pointing to his head, you would see, without this thinking, you would see numbers that you won't believe in reverse. You would see numbers that you wouldn't believe in reverse without this thinking. He's talking about the Democrats with this constant bongo drum of impeachment, 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 even though they don't have a legitimate high crime or even misdemeanor to impeach him on. They just don't like him, and their tails are in a ringer, along with the Rhino Republicans, along with people like Richard Burr and Tom Tillis, the weasels from North Carolina, the twin weasels that aren't mum nothing about this. They know this is a phony, false, completely illegitimate investigation, dreamed up, frame job. What does Greg Jarrett have his best-selling book for 3 weeks in a row now? He's the attorney on Fox. That it says, the exoneration of Hillary Clinton and the frame up of Donald Trump. That's exactly what happened. I mean, they cheated or passed Bernie Sanders because they wanted a real criminal in there. So when this thing did blow up, then she'd be. This is why the power of the president is so important. And he is in control of the military, and they are backing him 100%. What you're seeing on the surface is boiling hot in the background. Boiling hot. Fear not. Then we have this burgeoning genocide that they think is okay, that Obama's down there thinking, man, it's okay. He's not speaking out against a white genocide. And any kind of a genocide, white, yellow, red, brown, black, any kind of a genocide is a bad genocide. It's evil. Murder is evil. And here we have Trump orders State Department to closely study South African killing of white farmers and seizing land. President Donald Trump on Wednesday night ordered the State Department to closely study the large-scale killing of white farmers. Why is that on NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN? Why is that on there? The large-scale killing of white farmers and the seizing of their lands in South Africa after Tucker Carlson blasted the State Department for going along with the theft. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the press secretary, was asked about it. She said, well, all options are open. Whoa. Does that mean we're going to take an aircraft carrier out off the coast of South Africa? Does that mean we're going to land Marines there to break that up and put a shield against these people? So the black can't murder the white? This is horrible. This is absolutely crazy. Then on top of it, the South African ruling party, I forgot to read you this, just tweeted out, white people are murderers. Give them an excuse to kill white people, I guess. So, the world has gone crazy, and it's very destabilizing and very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. And I wanted to bring up Jim Sinclair and Bill Holter, two very smart guys, world-renowned gold expert Jim Sinclair, and a financial writer extraordinaire, Bill Holter, who has, 25 years experience in financial markets. Bill Holter is a really bright guy, writes very pointed, brilliant, easy-to-read stuff. He takes in complicated stuff and makes it easy for people like me to read. And Jim Sinclair is legendary and connected and smart and tons of experience with him. Well, actually, both of them. And they're coming on to talk about what they think is, the big question is, when is all this going to happen? And one of their articles they just penned is, when is now? The pin has been pulled, is what Bill Holter told me. He says the pin's been pulled, and they can't stick it back in the hole. And it's just going to be a grind, downhill grind until we hit the cliff. And maybe we'll hit many cliffs. So, but they're going to come on and talk about it. You won't want to miss this. This is going to be the early Sunday release. It's going to be Bill Holter and Jim Sinclair on camera, all three of us. And I got tons of questions about the dollar, about the synthetic shorts in the dollar, about all the money that's never going to get paid back, about the reset, about what it's going to do to people. They're going to be, people who aren't prepared for this are going to be crushed. This can destabilize society, and this is going to be, this is why Kevin Shipp, the former CIA officer who had a very high security clearance, who was on this week, talking about civil war and violence. People are going to go cray-cray. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I got to tell you when I think there's a danger, and there's a real danger. And it's it's not just a financial danger. I mean, who knows what the deep state, New World Order, Luciferian, pedophile crooks will do when they're cornered, and you've seen the shrill hysteria by their mainstream media puppets that they pay for, and that they can't even figure out. Hey, wow, are we missing a frame job on the president? Yes. Too stupid to be stupid. That's what Jim Sinclair says. It's his quote, actually. I borrowed it from, but it is a Jim Sinclair quote. What we are seeing, folks, is unparalleled in global history, at least back to the flood of Noah. Incidentally, I don't know what was going on in the Bible. In Genesis 6, it said evil continuously. And that God was very upset about what was going on. But we really don't know all that really good description about what went on in the days of Noah. As Christ said, he'll return. When he returns, it'll be as in the days of Noah. Fraud, pedophilia, crime, corruption, human trafficking, slavery, carnivores, or I should say, people that eat human flesh. It's unbelievable. It's pedivores that eat children. It's sickening, and it's crazy, and it's what's going on right now. Murder, rape. Jim Sinclair, Bill Holter will be the guest for the early Sunday release. You won't want to miss it. A couple other orders of business. It looks like email is now getting through to most Gmail accounts, but no matter who you are, Gmail or anything, they're hitting the spam box. You need to check your spam box, not just for me, but you need to check your spam box to make sure that other people that are sending things to you doesn't end up in the spam box. Just don't hit delete when you see the spam in the spam box, because a lot of people have written me back from multiple accounts, including Gmail accounts, said, oh, this got stuck in the spam box. So be careful of that. I mean, they're already censoring conservative voices on Twitter, shadow banning people on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. Alex Jones has been deplatformed off all these places, and he's just the first of many. So hopefully the president can mount a significant resistance to what these guys are doing. That they want people to be in line. I mean, just read the Georgia Guidestones if you really want to know what the New World Order Luciferians are all about, which is they want a world population of 500 million. Oh, really? From 7-point-something billion, that you want it down to 500 million? Who gets to decide who lives and dies? Who's playing God there? And then something I even forgot to tell you about, there was 70 some odd earthquakes in the last few days around the Ring of Fire, around the Pacific Rim. From everywhere from South America to North America to off the coasts of Eastern Asia, China, Japan, Korea, Malaysia. Unbelievable amount of earthquakes going off around the what's called the Ring of Fire, the Pacific Ring. So, folks, please watch the Sinclair Holter interview. And with that, I want to tell you, fear not. Don't be fearful. I want you to be informed. Fear steals your good judgment, steals your faith. Don't be fearful. Fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all spiritually. Fear not. God the Father and His Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit are all in charge. Thanks for supporting USAWatchdog.com.